Like so many other films in the Ukraine cinematic universe, a peace negotiation in London, which was going to be a procedural drama, failed before it even started. I mean, they had the script written, they had the set ready. It was going to star Marco Rubio, Emmanuel Macron, and Vladimir Zelensky. And they were going to start filming, and Zelensky's like, no, I'm not acting this out. This script sucks. I want you to completely rewrite the script. And they're like, it's too late to rewrite the script. We're ready to start filming the movie. He goes, I'm not filming the script unless the script gets changed. And they didn't have time to change the script. So the movie got canceled. Marco Rubio said that he had another film that he was going to make that was more important than this movie. And Macron did a monologue about how he was Apollo reborn. But seriously, we were going to have this big peace negotiation in London. All the European allies were going to be there. Zelensky was going to be there. Marco Rubio and Witkoff were going to be there. And the Americans were going to present their peace proposal, and they were all going to sit down together and kind of hash something out that they could present to the Russians. And before it even happened, Zelensky just rejected it 100%. He said it was completely unacceptable. So let's just go back and just, for those of you who didn't see the previous videos, let's just take a quick look at what the Kellogg plan was. So the Kellogg plan was that America would recognize Crimea as part of Russia. Russia would keep the territory it currently is holding, but it would not be legally recognized as part of Russia. There would be an immediate ceasefire, and Ukraine would make a pledge to never join NATO. But Ukraine would not face any military limitations. There would be no restrictions on the forced Ukrainianization of the Russian population. And Ukraine could continue receiving unlimited military and financial support from the West. So that was the Trump-Kellogg plan. Now, Russia was always going to reject this because it was nowhere near Russia's minimal demands. Not even their maximalist demands, but their baseline demands. So the big problem that Zelensky faced was the whole Crimea. Well, there's many problems with it, but the whole Crimea thing. So Ukraine said, so this is what Zelensky said, Ukraine will not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea, he told reporters. There is nothing to talk about. It is against our constitution. Ironically, that's the same argument that Putin makes. When they say, well, Putin, just give back the territory. He's like, well, the Russian constitution prevents that. So I guess, like, the Russian constitution doesn't matter, but the Ukrainian one, I guess, does. And then he says, Ukraine will always act in accordance with its constitution. And we are absolutely sure that our partners, in particular the U.S., will act in line with its strong decisions. So, no, we aren't even going to have a discussion. There's going to be no peace conference. It's just over. So Rubio and Witkoff just pulled out. They said they have logistical concerns, which is a massive cope. And then Trump did what Trump always does. He just raged on Truth Social. He threw a little temper tantrum. He said he can have peace or he can fight for another 3 years before losing the whole country. Now, some people thought that that meant that Trump was going to pull out, but it looks like he's not, and we're going to restart the negotiations, and all this nonsense is just going to continue on. I don't know. This is the perfect opportunity for Trump to walk away. He's not going to get a better opportunity to get out of this with the minimal amount of reputation lost. He can legitimately say he tried to come up with a fair compromise, and Zelensky wouldn't take it, and the Russians wouldn't take it. And so there really isn't anything else he can do in this situation. But I don't know if he's actually going to do it. I think this might have hurt his pride. And now it's like we have to resolve this conflict because I need to show everybody that this is the art of the deal or whatever. So Europe decided to go with Zelensky, as they always do. They decided 100% with him. I just thought that this was funny. For Europeans, recognizing Crimea's annexation, the first military land seizure in Europe since 1945, would undermine the rules-based order that has maintained peace on the continent for generations. That is, like, one generation. I mean, I guess we aren't including, like, Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia, the Yugoslav wars, the Hungarian Revolution. We're not including any of that stuff, I guess. And then they said Crimea and future NATO membership aspirations are red lines for us. Another senior diplomat told the Financial Times, we can't give them up. So they're saying unless the agreement includes Russia withdrawing from all the territory immediately and Ukraine immediately joining NATO, they will not agree to any kind of deal. And I just kind of came up with a list of wars in Europe where territory was seized by force since 1945. So we had a whole bunch of border swaps post World War II, post 1945, in which the Soviet Union or the Western Allies used military force to move populations around and grab parts of countries. We had the Algerian War. Keep in mind, Algeria was considered part of France proper. And there was a long war and they lost control of that. I think you could even argue Goa. Now, Goa was a Portuguese colony in India, but Portugal had owned it for like 400 or 500 years, and the Indian government just invaded it with basically no casus belli and just took it over. We have the Turkish invasion of Cyprus, which they're still occupying the northern 40%. We have, if we're going to go to Russia, the Transnistria War that still hasn't been resolved. There was all the breakups of Yugoslavia. There was a number of different wars involved with that. There was the Abkhazia War, the first phase of the Georgian War. Then there was the Russian-Georgian War. Ironically enough, I decided to put Kosovo independence here because the only reason Syria was not able to just go in and restore order and stop them from seceding is there was an implicit threat from NATO that if they tried to exert control over their internationally recognized territory, then they would use military force against them. And we're told that Armenia is part of Europe, and we've had so many border changes in the last 30 years involving Nagorno-Karabakh. So there has been a lot. This is a complete digression, but it irritated me. So what does this all mean? It means there is no diplomatic solution. Full stop. There is no diplomatic way to resolve this war. The Kellogg plan, even though Russia wouldn't have accepted it, is more generous and is more beneficial to Ukraine than anything they realistically could hope for at this point in the war. They would lose basically nothing other than future NATO membership that wasn't even going to happen. I think Germany and the United States and a couple other countries said that they would veto NATO membership regardless. So, I mean, that was already off the table. So Ukraine would lose approximately nothing that they currently didn't already have. Crimea has been part of Russia for over 10 years now. Even Western sources indicate that the population there is, I believe, a majority ethnic Russian, that the population there wants to be part of Russia. It's not even like a question. And there's no physical way to retake it. Ukraine has no means to retake Crimea. So just acknowledging the reality of the situation would not really cost them anything additionally. They can't push Russia out of the other territories. Under this plan, they don't even have to acknowledge it as part of Russia, so they might be able to get it back later. Who knows? They might be able to get Crimea back later. Now, if Ukraine actually wanted to have a peace agreement, what I think that they should have done is Zelensky should have accepted the peace deal in the knowledge that Russia was not going to accept it and put the onus on them. So, like, Putin didn't even really have to turn this deal down because it was a non-starter. It didn't even get to the point of being offered to Russia. So he doesn't have to reject this, what's considered a reasonable compromise peace deal. He can just go, look, Zelensky rejected this really good deal. It's not, I'm not the one who's preventing negotiations from happening. Also, had they agreed with the U.S. probably would have supported them longer. They would have thought that Zelensky was finally playing ball and they would think they had some common ground to work with him on. But them refusing to look at it is pissing Trump off. And it's, I guess, just circling the wagon. As I've said, there is no pro-peace group within the Ukrainian political system. The political class is entirely committed to total war with Russia. They would prefer to have the country be completely destroyed and a total military defeat to any kind of compromise, to abandoning a single square inch of Ukrainian territory to Russia. Even the territory, somewhat like, even if it was just Crimea and Russia would withdraw from the other regions, they would not accept that. Even if it was just the pre-war borders of Donbass, they would not accept that. They are 100% committed to this. Unless they can get the Zelensky formula, which is basically Russia's unconditional surrender, they will not agree to any terms. And like I said, it's people will say, well, Arjun, you shouldn't even bring this up because Zelensky doesn't want a peace negotiation and the political class in Ukraine doesn't. And I get that. I'm just saying from a like basic realistic standpoint, if he was interested in a peace deal or keeping America's support, he would have accepted this in the knowledge that Russia would reject it anyways. And that there was nothing to fear because this would never actually happen, but it would make Trump happy and Trump would probably give him more money and weapons. I think it's because if he accepted this, he knows that he would be removed in a coup and probably killed. And for the political class in Ukraine, the grift would be over. There would probably be elections. They would be voted out. They couldn't become a government in exile in Paris or Florida or somewhere. So this is where we are. Peace deal failed. Trump has a couple options now. He can try to come up with another peace deal that's not going to work, which is possible. He can double down and just start giving Ukraine weapons and money again because he doesn't want to admit defeat, or he can just walk away, which is what I think he should do at this point in time. There is no diplomatic solution. Really, the only thing that Trump could realistically do is, okay, if he wanted Ukraine to win this war, the U.S. would have to directly intervene. I don't think that they could win this war, even if they did directly intervene, if only for logistical issues of getting enough American troops to Ukraine to face down Russia, when Russia has such a powerful conventional army. So, but that is the only like narrow hope of a Ukrainian military victory if NATO completely mobilizes and directly confronts Russia in Ukraine, or he can walk away. And those are the only two ways of resolving this. But I'm worried that he's just going to start negotiations over, and this thing is just going to drag out longer and longer when it's clear that it has to end one way or the other. So hopefully you found that interesting. I know I'm covering this in a lot more detail and a lot more play-by-play than some of the other Ukraine stuff, but I think that this is very important, and there's been a lot of disinformation on this topic and a lot of what I consider to be bad reporting. And a lot of the time people are not particularly clear of what the different sides are involved in. And I think this is also a good opportunity to look at what the individual war goals are, and how open to peace the different groups are. Because I just find that interesting, and I like making charts. So anyways, God bless everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.